All right, I'm going to be breaking the mold for this episode for just a little bit because I need to jump ahead into things that I like. I just watched the lead into this episode, the recap before the opening credits. So basically, the lead up to Senku dying again, and they change up the animation with this recap, and there's so much to remember in this episode that I wanted to record my thoughts on this right now because there's no way I was going to remember this on top of everything else that happens in this episode. So I want to say that I really, really love this recap. They do the whole Star Trek in another life I might have called you friend cliche thing, but they do it really, really well. They kind of mix it into Senku's flashback in going to space because while he's going on and rambling about how if we'd met when we were younger, you might have been my first friend, and we get to see elementary school Tsukasa just kind of show up and actually pick apart the bullies that were picking on Senku, and I like the idea of even Senku liking the idea of them being friends. Senku is not happy with the fact that they're here in this situation. He legitimately admires Tsukasa. He even says when he's doing when he's explaining things to Taiju that yeah, he's a good guy, but he's got some problems. He's a murderer, and he's also just okay with that. He's not hiding it from anyone. He's proud of the fact that he's doing it. I also want to say this is probably more of a caveat that I should put at the end of the last episode, but I really like the deal that Tsukasa thinks he can strike with Senku, where he says, if you promise and swear to abandon science and never come near this thing that you've wrapped your identity in, then I can let you live. If you abandon all of your ideals and dreams and you completely submit who you are willing to be to fit my mold of what I want, then you are of use to me and I will keep you alive. And I love that Senku kind of points out that, you know what? Not only am I not going to do you the dishonor of lying to your face, I'm also going to tell you that even if I were, I don't know. Senku recognizes that this is a devil's price to pay, and he's not willing to do that. He would rather keep his soul and revive every single human than give his own resources to a murderer and someone who is completely wrong in their thinking. And even to the last of it, he kind of points out that he would never make any sort of ridiculous promise like that. So it's a lot of really good characterization before the character dies. I wonder if that's gonna have anything to do with anything. But I'm gonna go watch the actual episode and get back to your regularly scheduled program. All right, and Dr. Stone episode 5 recap, go. So the first half is Taiju and Yuzuriha escaping from Tsukasa, and then they notice the whole neck click cracking thing that Senku's been doing, that he didn't used to have that old habit. They piece together that he was baiting Tsukasa to hit him in the neck, and when they check his neck, sure enough, there's still some rock there. They douse it with some petrification remover, and that heals the injury that Tsukasa deals to him. And then, instead of seeing whether or not he makes a full recovery, The second half of the episode is devoted to flashbacks, so I wonder how well it went. My guess is he just stays dead. That's why we're getting this whole second half of the episode that is all about his awakening and stuff. But yeah, the second half of the episode is Senku doing Senku things, and it starts from when he wakes up out of the petrification, and it goes to the point more or less where he finds Taiju. But it's still a little bit before that. If you've seen this episode, it actually has it introduces one of my favorite elements, which is the video game like level up icons where oh wait, hang on. I need to get into what did I like before I can talk about this. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I love in this episode. Probably the second half. Not that the first half is bad. I really like Taiju and Yuzuru has escape. But there's so much stuff in the shiny monkey section, which the shiny monkey, him calling himself that and that being what the monkeys call him is hilarious. And you really get a feel for the whole trial and error concept of scientific progress. And there's a line that he has where he says, you learn, that's how science works. You learn everything that you can, and then you experiment with what you don't know. And that's textbook application of the scientific theory. It's fantastic. And yeah, you see him go from having literally nothing. He goes from scratch to building fires, making tools, laying traps for animals so that he can eat some meat. And then by the end of the episode, you see that he's completely, by the normal monkey's perspective, he's completely messed up this tree and built a house. And oh, what are these weird sticks with stones at the end of them that are sharp and pointy? And oh my God! Now the shiny monkey isn't shiny anymore. He's wearing these weird clothes now, and just the whole section's great. This isn't the start of it, but it happens. This is the first time it like really shows like the whole holding shots on Senku with the evil villain face as opposed to the hero face. I just think it's so funny that the writer, animator, original author, or whoever was responsible for this joke, or whatever you want to call it, motif, is he's obviously a fan of anime, and he's like, yo, Goku's cool, but like, let's be honest, Vegeta just looks cooler. Like, if they're just kind of like standing there doing their thing and monologuing, which, you know, happens in Dragon Ball, like, all of the villains always get to look cooler than the heroes because they always get these like crazy dynamic shots where they're mid-pose of doing something, and like they're looking down on the camera from one eye and smiling nefariously while monologuing to something. And it's just, I don't know, I like that. I like that our hero has such a villainous look so much throughout the show. I think it's a nice little touch motif. I don't know. I guess motif. I don't know. Other things to like in this episode. There's so much in the second half. The artwork's good. The whole trial and error aspect is great. There's another line that while he's going through the whole montage of the whole trial and error where he says that humans aren't the only animals that use tools, but we are the only animals that apply scientific thinking to things. So an animal might be able to use a tool for one purpose, but even now you realize that one thing leads into another. Senku realizes that all of these advancements that he's making will eventually keep leading into more advancements because he knows how to get there. And I don't know, it's basically he's leveling up a tech tree in a 4X game, and he knows all of the secret shortcuts to get whatever you want to call it, the time reduction boosts, the great scientists or what have you of whatever 4X game he's playing. He is the great scientist. He's just permanently there, always activating his time reduction. And I think it's really cool seeing that happen, especially when he's just not, when it's just him. It is, at this point, a single-player game. He is the only human around, and it's neat seeing even someone who's not, like, dexterous or overly strong or athletic. It's really cool seeing them adapt, improvise, and overcome, as the kids were saying like 5 years ago. And I'm an old man, so I just caught the meme. Yeah, so this is definitely, if, I don't know, this is obviously not a great episode to like really try to sell someone on the show, but the second half of it is, like, there's so much wrapped up in the story at the first half of this episode. But if you really wanted to get someone into Dr. Stone, and for whatever reason they don't like watching the first episode of an anime to see if they would like an anime, the second half of this episode would probably be what I would recommend to people, of like, this is what you can really expect from the show. Because, I mean, Mecha Senku and cooking gunpowder is really cute and all, but at the end of the day, this show boils down to how irrevocably positive a scientific mindset has for a population. And I think that's good. I think it's a good message, and it's good to sow the seeds of that early in the show where it's your main message. And it's not like those haven't been sown. Like, we obviously see Senku's devotion and his passion and fury for saving the rest of humanity. But the show eventually goes on to show that he's right. He is unequivocally right. And there's a really, really big scene later on in the show. It's in season 2, I think. And it's fantastic. I'm sure I'm going to have a 2-3 minute long rant about it when it comes up, because in my opinion it's more or less the thesis of the show, and they do a very Shakespearean job at hinting and poking and prodding at it, and then they really just kind of unzip the pants, whip it out, and hit you in the face with it. Like, they're very haha ho ho, is this way, is this that way, and then they just hard left into, no, of course a scientific mindset is better than some awful dictatorship where where you're actively trying to not advance your society. You're actively trying to keep people underneath you. That's not good. And yeah, I dig this episode. It's so good. It lays so much groundwork for all of the different characters, like even the ones that soon we're not going to be seeing for very long. So I guess we should move on to what did I not like? The first half of this episode kind of drags, but I get it. They really want to let you know that he's dead. Senku is dead at the beginning of this episode. There's no, like, he was in a coma. He's actually dead. There's severed cords in his spinal column. He's not working anymore. And that's the power of the survival fluid, which is more seed sowing in a very unobvious way. And that's very spoilery, and I'm not even going to bring it up in the spoiler section. Well, I probably will. But actual stuff that I don't like, I don't know. You see Yuzuriho, which means the head muffs are there, but I don't think I need to go into another rant about those. Um, like I said, the escape from Tsukasa's good. I I like how even just being around Senku makes Taiju and Yuzuriha smarter because they're using a very Senku way of dealing with Tsukasa to get out of there, and they apply things that they learned alongside Senku and that he learned and pieced together at the same time as them. And I think it's cool to show that, like, yeah, he, like, Senku kind of knows everything in the back of his mind, but Taiju and Yuzuriha aren't stupid. They might be a little bit dull and they might be very high schoolish from time to time, but they're not dumb. They're not stupid. They will learn, and if something is put in front of them, they will not ignore it while it's giving them information. And that is arguably the least high schoolerish thing you can do. Haha, yeah, because high schoolers aren't going to be a target audience for an anime podcast. Fuck me. Uh, yeah, there's not much to not like in this episode. So, spoilers, because, like I said, there's one really big spoiler, which is like at the end of season 2 is when this pays off. Because in the next few episodes, Senku and Yuzuriha and so Senku parts ways with Yuzuriha and Taiju, and he gives Yuzuriha a super secret mission that she can't tell anyone about, not even Taiju. And she seems really shocked by what he asks, but it's a big secret until the end of season 2. So, and like I said, they lay the groundworks for all of this in this episode because they bring Senku back to life, and that's Senku's kickstart to think, well, maybe if we got every single scrap from these statues that Tsukasa is destroying, then we can piece together all of the people that he murdered, and my plan, save every single human on Earth, won't fail. Ha! Ha ha! Oh man, I forgot how sad the end of season 2 is. I just made myself sad by telling a joke. But yeah, so it gives him the idea that he can bring back all of these people that Tsukasa's been murdering, and turns out they're right, I believe. I'm pretty sure we get confirmation that it does work at the end of season 2. So yeah, good, bravo, slow clap. I don't know if that's a slow clap or not, but it's good writing, fantastic storytelling in these few episodes. Like, and that's why it's so hard to call even the slower, more emotional bits, slower or boring, because there's always stuff going on, and like sometimes the lulls are obviously you want to keep absorbing the information in the story and what's happening, but sometimes all of the lulls and all of that, if you're gonna zone out, you're immediately zoning out into, oh, what could this mean, or what could that mean, or really thinking back and trying to connect disparate pieces, because the show loves pointing out when it's told you something, and I think that's good. Like I said, you should be able to blow your own horn for a little bit if you've done something that you think is cool. Another spoiler is we see Ansari again in this episode for the first time. You see his face, and there's a questionnaire in his magazine that is one of the keys that lets Taiju and Yuzuriha think of how to get Senku back. But I think it's so funny that you see Ansari again, and you hear his influence in Senku's world without him knowing it. And Senku's just like, what kind of dweeb would ever buy into this crap? Like, this is just some stupid Cosmo quiz. Like, why would you ever pay attention to any of this? I think that is really, really funny. I love. I'm sorry again. He's one of my favorite characters in the show, and I like how much you actually get to see his stupid face before he shows up. And of course, kicking him just right in the junk before he makes a proper appearance is always good for a character like him. I don't think there are any other spoilers in this episode. We don't see any more from the blonde-haired girl. So I guess the big takeaway, remembering stuff that I like, didn't like, and the big takeaway. I don't know. They really lean into Tsukasa's very objectifying, I'll say, take on humanity and what a soul is, because he even says that he doesn't want Taiju to lose control of his emotions, because then he'll have to kill him, because if Taiju is angry, then maybe that gives him the X factor to beat me, and at this point, dude's just in full-on predator mode. He is looking for a reason to kill people, and I feel like I've said this 3 episodes in a row, but that's bad. Don't do that. Don't do. Killing bad. Don't do. But what was the other? I had an actual like joke main takeaway that I wanted to say. I don't know. No, I don't know. I guess main takeaway is I don't know. Shiny Monkey's an impressive SOB if he knows what he's doing. So yeah, I don't know. The big takeaway is that science will prevail as long as the main character has his plot armor, which he's got pretty hard right now in this episode, but that's fine. We like Senku. And Senku is officially the main character as of this episode. Like I do kind of like how in the first 2 episodes are very, very Taiju heavy. And then we start seeing the switch in perspective to Senku around episode 3 or 4. And at this point, we're just diving headlong straight into Senku's story. He's the one who's getting all of the flashbacks at this point. And it's a shift that I was happy about when I noticed it the first time. I was over the moon with this episode because, like I said, watching Senku do Senku things, it really just makes me happy to be a human and not some dumb house pet or wild pet. I just looked behind me as if my cats were going to hear me trash talking them. Stupid cats, they can't speak English. Alright, I guess that's the big takeaway. Stupid cat can't speak English. Haha, make fun.